Hi there, welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. My name is Melanie and welcome to another video where I'm going to share a project that I worked on. This is a chunky monkey. You all know I love to do things a little bit big. I really tried. So this says a complete travel journal, boarding, exploring. And this was a gift from a friend of mine. We recently went on a trip to Alaska, and she thought it would be fun if we all had journals. So there's 3 of us that went on this trip, and we all got these little journals. Now, the journal's really cool. It gives you prompts and stuff like that, which I tried to use. I mean, I'm not usually a big, I want to say I'm not usually a big journaler, but you guys are going to see how much journaling I did, and it will prove me wrong that that's not the case. I do journal. But I did try to stick to the prompts somewhat, or at least as additional supplements, because I thought it was kind of fun. We went on a cruise to Alaska, and we took some crafting supplies with us, so we did work on this on the ship for a bit. And then I completed it when I got home. And I think I completed it within a week or 2 of getting back. And I'm just finally getting around to it now because I had other things on my plate. So let's zoom you in a little bit and I will share with you how this journal came together. I hope you are inspired. This is the second time that I have done a journal like this for a cruise. And I love having everything documented in this format. This is not the only journaling, or this is not the only scrapbook I will do, by the way. I will definitely do a 12 by 12 album, but this will be like a supplement. So a lot of the journaling and stuff in here, I won't repeat in my scrapbook. It'll kind of be something that you would want to look at in conjunction. So I had some of the paraphernalia or the documents from the cruise ship, so I cut that out and added that as part of the title page. Because I was trying to keep this super thin, I found my thinnest paper, and I'm talking like newsprint thick paper, and that's what I tried to use. I also incorporated postcards that I bought and stickers I bought in the different ports. And on this ship, they had a journaling kit, which was basically pocket cards and some thin paper as well. And so I incorporated all of that into the album. I documented the names and the date. This had a map here. I thought it'd be kind of fun to show the route we took. And I added, of course, more decorative items, the ports. And I also tried to use a lot of the Vicki Boughton, what is it, Here and There collection. I had some of her ephemera that was also super thin. It wasn't like cardstock thick. It was like newspaper print thick. I used a multicolored washi tape for borders. And this is not like, it's not like a what am I trying to say? It's not like a well-designed journal. Like it's scrappy, right? Like I just stuck wherever, plunked it down wherever it would fit. Yeah, I think that probably describes it pretty well. I did do little flip outs. So this was part of the itinerary from the documents we got from the ship. Some of my journaling. This was one of those cards that was in the kit that we bought on the cruise line. This was talking about the trip itinerary, so I had, each of the ports and then everything that we did in the ports just in dot format or bullet point. I added a couple photos of the port towns. Then I think this one turned out really cool. So I had this map paper in one of the paper pads I was using, and I thought that would be fun to add that in here. And then I did this big tip out with all the decks of the ship. So that was kind of fun. And then I noted where our cabin was. This was the welcome aboard package, and then the card from the ship. And then some journaling, some more cards from that package that we bought on the ship. And then, things like your luggage tag, that kind of thing. And then we had different activities. One of the things we did was a selfie scavenger hunt. So this is the scavenger hunt list that we had to go and find photos of. And then I did a flip up that gave some of the photos from the scavenger hunt And then I did a lot of the photos around the ship. I do have a small mini printer that I took with me. So all of these small photos were printed using that. And then there are a few larger photos that were printed when I came home. I did add some of these typed pages in. Usually it was just glued in as like a tip out kind of thing. And yeah, I tried to include some different paraphernalia. This was a divider in the journal naturally that had a quote, so I just added some stickers. These are like stickers and cards and stuff like that just to fill it in a little bit. The journal then goes into 5 highlights or 5 moments. So I talked about some of the key takeaways from the trip on each one of these. And it wasn't necessarily excursion specific or anything like that. I mean, some of them were related to the excursions, but it was more about what was important in that moment that I focused on. And then later on, I will actually document the excursions and the day itself. So this was more on the highlights kind of thing. And then here's, like I said, was a filler where I just printed a 4x6 photo to fill in some of these spaces. This was talking about transportation, all the different modes of transportation we were taking. And so I just filled this up with whatever I had that I could find that was transportation related. This talked about accommodations. So we stayed at a hotel before we boarded the ship, and then we stayed at a hotel again. So I documented that. Then I went into the entertainment that we had. More photos of just around the ship. I did print out some of the descriptions from the ship material or from the material online. And so you'll see that included in here. This was a food section. And so there was a section for your favorite eats. So I made a little flip up of describing the restaurant or the eating area, and then some information about that particular restaurant or location that I found, enough to warrant mentioning it. And then some more photos of the food, because you all know when you go on a cruise ship, food's a big deal. There was a section on mishaps, so I talked about some of those. Not that we had many, but there were a couple. There was a section talking about your travel companions, how you traveled together, what you liked, that kind of thing. I have a photo of the 3 of us in here. I had an extra spot that I didn't want to fill in that journal section, so I just added a card. More photos of the 3 of us throughout the cruise. Then we get into, it says mementos and photos. So this is documenting more the ports that we were in. So you'll see things like the stub from the excursions, the stickers that I bought, if we had any sort of pamphlets are in here. So that was Sitka. Again, journaling about the day. And then we were in Skagway. Here's a brochure. I tried to, maximize use. So this one's got a flip out. And then talking, again, more journaling. Photos. Next day, this is in Juneau. I tried to get a sticker from each port just to kind of make it fun. This was a little tip up with a little marmot photo. I can see already that my book is expanding because it's so thick. I might have to go back and reinforce some of this. This was all about, my spa day, the luggage tag. I forgot to mention this. We had a day at sea. Here was us crafting. We had the rest of the Friday in Seattle after we disembarked, and we were leaving on Saturday. So we drove out to Mount Rainier, and then at the airport saying goodbye. And then I had a few more photo opportunities at the end. That is my little journal. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I wish it was a little bit thinner because it is a little bit bulgy, and I think that is putting some pressure on the spine. It is what it is. I can't contain myself. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'd love to know if you ever have done something like this, if you've done a travel Or if you've traveled, have you done a separate journal documenting your trip? Would you say this was it and you wouldn't have done anything else? Or do you still do like the full-blown scrapbook? I'd love to hear what your process is. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And until next time, happy crafting.